Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 59 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services as we look forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another great organization this week as we highlight the Guardians of the Children. We have Todd Smith and Danny Craig with us today. Todd is the president of the organization, and Danny is the vice president. Todd and Danny, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so maybe we'll start with you, Danny. Can you just tell us a little about yourself? Anything you'd like to share for our listeners?
I'm a native of Gastonia County. Own quality landscape design and maintenance for 31 years.
Okay, very good.
Married, have one child, couple stepchildren. Live in Cherryville, and that's about it.
Okay, very good. Todd, what about you, sir?
Well, I am not a native of Gastonia County. I grew up in Cleveland County.
We won't hold that against you. Cleveland County's great.
It's all right. It's all right. Married, good Lord, 5 kids and 3 grandkids.
Oh, my.
Just enjoying life.
Okay. Well, very good. So maybe stick with this. The question is for both of you, but start with you, Todd, maybe. So how did you – I'm going to kind of combine a couple questions together maybe. So what can you tell us about Guardians of the Children? I mean, as I mentioned before we started, I've heard of the organization, but I personally, that's one reason I like doing these podcasts. This is one of those organizations I don't know a whole lot about, but I've had more than one person tell me about it. Yeah. So kind of just give us a history, mission, and then how did you guys get involved with the organization?
Well, the mission of Guardians of Children is to recognize and react to child abuse and educate the public to do the same.
Okay.
I personally am a child of that does come from abuse.
Okay.
A sexual abuse childhood. So I found the organization on accident. Actually went to purchase a new motorcycle, and they had flyers there. And then I'm sure y'all know about the Gastonia County Toy Run.
Yeah.
So me and my wife showed up there and actually met Cuz. And when we met Cuz, we fell in love with him and learned more about the organization, and here we are nearly 6 years later.
Okay.
But the things that this chapter and this organization across the nation is able to do with children is just amazing. Some of the basic things that we do is that when we get a reach out from a family that's going through a troubling time, we sit down and speak with them and see how we can help them and everything. As a whole, we try to. The children are already strong enough, the fact that they've even talked about it, the fact that they've even let somebody know. That takes bravery beyond some of our own imagining.
Sure.
So at that point, we just try to back them up and keep that going. Having that support system to go to court with you and somebody's got your back, I've seen children go through and stand up and face their accusers that some of us just never would imagine or have the bravery to do.
Sure.
And then every month we have what's called a Kids Day. We take these families out and we just try to have a ball. And, we want to show them, one, that, we're going through some bad things, but maybe the world just ain't so bad.
Right.
And give them an opportunity to be children, to just let their hair down and have a ball, and we get right in with them too. And once we do what we call adopt the children, and these children are with us till they're 18 years old or until they decide that they no longer need our help. We also have big Christmas parties, everything like that, buy Christmas for the kids every year, which is wonderful, birthdays. We just when we say we adopt them in, they're our family, and we take care of them and do the best we can with the means that we have. And thanks to Gaston County, we've been able to do a lot.
Very good.
So that's my little spiel.
Okay. Danny, how'd you get involved with the organization?
We meet, 5-6 years ago, there's a group of guys who meet at a restaurant called Byram's on South New Hope
Oh
Road.
yeah, I'm familiar with Byram's.
So we're in there
Good
every
lunch.
morning. Yeah, we're in there in the mornings early, sitting around talking. Have a mutual friend, and he is actually our international ambassador.
Okay.
So we just talk, and he started hinting around, you want a bike? You know, I know what you do with children on your own. Would you like to join? I said, well, give me some information. Let's think about it. Just didn't want to jump in, not knowing more. So met a few other ones, went on a couple of the rides, and my daughter was in college, had a lot of time on my hands. So I said, you know, I was coaching at Gaston Christian Girls Fast Pitch. The other schools that I've coached at over the years, it's always been involved with kids, and I was like, okay, there's something missing. So I got involved, went to some meetings, and just joined because of the purpose. Fortunately, I never had to live through abuse.
Right.
And hearing some of the stories just makes you stop and go, we're missing something with the number of cases we have just in Gaston County. And I'm like, I'm 52 years old and have never witnessed or heard. So this is something that I want to jump in and get involved with. So it just kind of snowballs from there. Once you get in, it gets a hold of you because, like he said, you can watch a 10-year-old kid stand in the courtroom and face their perp to testify against them. And then you get to go on a kid's day. They cut up and laugh like nothing ever happened. So it's good to see that you're a part of both sides of it. So from that point on, it's just kind of grown, and we spend our spare time 2-3 weekends a month, it seems like, raising money, doing events, or heading out to Wilmington. Is it Wilmington we're going to this weekend?
Just outside of Cameron, North Carolina.
So we're going out there for a family this weekend to help with them. So that's kind of how I got involved. And look forward to many more years and seeing what we can do to change this situation as much as we possibly can.
All right, so you guys kind of unwrapped a lot there. So is it fair to say that what is it that you're typically doing? Is it the support for court, or is it specifically that you're addressing early on, or we had, to your comment, with the number of situations that you see here in Gaston County, we had the Hope United on. I don't know if you're familiar with that organization. They deal with the Children's Advocacy Center, and man, they shared some stats about the number of children that they serve, and it's not just sexual abuse that they deal with, but it was kind of astounding, frankly, to hear about how often that's going on. So, I mean, how many situation kids are you guys dealing with and serving, say, in a month, a year, or is that is that a bad question?
It's not a bad question. As it stands right now, I think we have 22 children that we take care of. Okay. That number has been upwards of 30. Across the United States, if I remember correctly, and I'm sure somebody will correct me after this.
Yeah, sure.
But it's been well over 5,000 children that we have helped as an entire organization in the United States. Now, granted, we can't. It's just like any other organization. You'd like to wrap your arms around every single one of them. But there is, we deal with abuse cases, whether it be physical or sexual.
Gotcha.
We, so unfortunately, a lot of times, some of it is tied up into family court, and that is a very touchy area to be involved in. So if it is a family court side of thing, we still will support the child and help where we can. But it makes it harder. But anytime that we get a reach out, and we talk to just about as many as we actually help throughout the year, about supporting them and helping them with them. And then it's just sometimes the families are looking for a different type of support than we can supply.
Gotcha.
But as a whole, we try to take on as many as we can.
Yeah. So how many people are locally involved with your organization? So if I'm understanding what I've heard, it's a national organization, and y'all run a local chapter here?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Okay.
That's correct. Right now, we're above 30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're above 30 members. We have what we call patch members that are full members, and you'll notice and they'll probably see us around every now and again on our bike with our patches on our back. And then we do have support members that just choose to come help, maybe don't ride a motorcycle or whatever the case may be, but still want to be involved. And that's always a good way to help.
Is that what is the motorcycle connection? Because that's how it started nationally, or that was just a.
That's kind of how it kind of started nationally. A few guys got together in the Midwest and had a little bit different idea of how they wanted to support children, because there's multiple organizations out there, and that's where Guardians of Children was born. I think we're going on about 12 or 13 years.
Okay.
And it has grown to we have chapters in all over the United States and Canada.
Okay.
So unfortunately, there's a need for it all over the world.
Yeah. It's one of those things that would be nice. It wouldn't be a need, wouldn't it?
It'd be wonderful. and really if you on our back of our patch, we have a set of scales. And that's what we always say is that once those scales are balanced, that our job is done, we'll take our cuts off. And that's just what it comes down to is once it's done and it's not happening anymore, the scales are balanced, the children are safe, and we don't have to worry about it. But unfortunately, that's not a world we live in.
Right. So you mentioned a couple initiatives that you're doing with court, kids days. I mean, is there anything else that you're doing, or how often are those things happening? Is that monthly or?
Monthly.
Okay.
Court obviously is on. Most of our cases at the moment have been through court, and we're just still spending time with the children, watching them grow, and all that. It's just wonderful, But the biggest majority of the time that we spend is trying to be involved in the public, trying to get a hold of be involved in events. We've done a backpack handout, to be just. So people know we're there.
Awareness.
Yeah, awareness. We're make sure we're handing out information packets, speaking about what we do. And you gain traction in the community. So if people do know what's going on or have that, they are a little more comfortable maybe to hopefully reach out. We have actually, one of our largest families we picked up and adopted. We was actually set up at the American Fair speaking with the public, and they come up and started talking to us after they figured out what it was about. And so you just never know your time in the community of how it's going to help, who you're going to touch, and what you're going to gain from it.
So you're talking about that the fair out at not Gaston Mall, but Old Eastridge Mall? Is that what you're talking about, that All-American Fair?
Yep.
So this is a question for both of you. Maybe start with you, Danny. Can you – I'm sure you've got lots of stories, of specific. Obviously, we're not going to share any specifics of families' names or anything. But can you think about a child that you guys have impacted positively? Kind of take us through some, an experience that you've had, or something that you can share with our listeners that kind of details what you guys have done maybe for a family or a kid, or seen some, what has happened over time. Does that make sense?
I don't think there's just one.
Right, I'm sure there isn't. Yeah,
you, whether it be Christmas when you have, because we don't only buy for the one child, we buy for their brothers and sisters as well.
Okay,
so we incorporate the whole family. When you've got 20, last year we had 25, 27 kids. Yeah, 27 kids that you buy presents for. Fortunately, we were able to do more than we've ever done before financially. and to see 27 kids running around a fire department where we had a Christmas party and opening gifts, that is probably the best day of the year because all the worries are gone.
Yeah.
There's food there. There's presents. There's a Santa Claus that comes. And it's just that time of the year. There's a lot of joy and happiness at that time of the year. It's hard to say there's one particular kid. There is one that kind of stands out to me, and it was one of the first ones I ever had interaction with.
Okay.
I'd never met her before, and they drive rather far to come visit on Kids' Days, over 100 miles. And I didn't know that she was one of our little guardians. And we're walking in the skating rink, and I feel a little hand reach down and grab mine. I said, "Come on." I was like, "Okay, who's this?" And she says, "We're going to get skates." I said, "Wait a minute. We're going to go get you some skates. I will watch." And the whole day, you would have thought I had known her whole life.
Wow.
So to be that comfortable around a complete stranger, because we had our cuts on, she knew who we were and what we were about, and she was safe. So that interaction with her will always stick out in my memory.
So she felt comfortable for some
Yes.
reason. Yeah.
Most of the kids know that once if they've never met you, and because some of them, like this particular family, does travel a long way, so they don't get to everyone. So there's new people about every time they come.
Right.
But if they have that patch on, they're home.
Oh,
They're
wow.
safe. They will come up to you, and you're not going to have a chance to introduce yourself to them. And it's just, that's the amazing thing to see these children be that comfortable, just be happy. And it's kind of like, with him, it's hard to pick out.
Pinpoint one,
Yeah,
sure.
to pinpoint one, because you see, with me being involved for a little over 5 years, I have hundreds of those same stories, and that's as a whole for all the children to go from clammed up, nervous, not sure, and it could be maybe their abuser was a female, maybe their abuser was a male, so they kind of shy away from you, and then, within another visit, they're wide open, like they've been around you for their entire life. Actually, one of the most recent ones, but probably the child that I've seen blossom the most in the organization here recently, because like I said, thankfully and unthankfully, because we know that it's still going on. We have not got any recent court cases that we are dealing with. But one of our members' daughters has went from the shyest little girl that you ever met to the most wide open blossom child. And to be able to do that with children and to see them open up like that and grow the way that she has along with the others, you can't help but have your heart melt every time, and that's why I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, my experience with things that I've been involved with over the years is that children, they're pretty resilient for the most part. I mean, sometimes more resilient than we give them credit for, and maybe even more resilient than me as an adult, frankly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so that support can sure go a long way.
I got one more incident.
Okay.
Just hit me. I've been in the organization about 2.5 years. The first year that I came in, COVID was big, so we weren't getting to see the kids for a while. First saw the kids, we did a drive-by to visit all the families, so it was outside. Nobody could say anything. We have one particular family that has 5 boys at home and 2 at another home, or 2 other children. It's total of 7, correct?
7 altogether, yeah.
So we pulled in front of their house. We have this rule. In your cut, you always carry a marble.
Oh, my God.
And these 5 boys, if you don't have your marble, when they ask you to show you, because they'll have one in their pocket, You got to pay them $1. I didn't have a marble because it has to be gifted to you from another member.
Okay.
So I pull up. Within a few minutes, I see these kids walking out of marble. I was like, oh, cool. Come up, 5 in a row. Cost me $20 before I could leave this house, and I had to borrow the money from him to get out of Dutch to the kids. And I said, somebody's going to give me a marble, and we got to stop at the teller machine because we've got like 10 other stops,
and they're all going to be asking.
I'll be out $100. So that, and every time you see those 5 boys, they will pull that marble out every single time.
You will go broke if you forget your marble. That's for sure. Yeah, and all it takes is one kid to figure it out. And I think they call ahead, too, and let the next ones know who to get.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good.
It'd be a standing line, just waiting for their
They
dollar.
know, huh?
Yeah.
What about, have you, maybe Todd, maybe more for you since you've been in the organization a little bit longer. I mean, what have you seen any changes over your time, or since it's a national organization, it's pretty standard things that you guys are doing, year to year, or has there been any changes?
No,
since you've been involved?
There has been many changes since I've been involved. With the amount of, I think originally, because of it being a motorcycle organization, we were really focused on that community and gaining our support from financial support from that community. COVID hit, and of course that changed a lot of things for a lot of people.
Yeah. So
once that hit, and having some, anytime you get new members coming in, you get fresh ideas and stuff like that. So with one of our members, Jeanette, coming in, or Raven, she has opened up the doors to a lot of different things that we necessarily may have not had contact with or opportunities with. Just like we was talking about handing out the book bags.
Okay.
She actually was able to set that up for us. So she's really opened us up to new communities and different ways of outreach and getting involved. Twice a year we have what's called our CAPA ride, Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Ride. And that was kind of our biggest things that we did for fundraising. With her help and a few other members, we've kind of ventured out into doing car shows.
Okay.
Making sure that anything that children are going to be involved in, national nights out, different stuff like that we're setting up and showing our presence in the community. We also go once a month with a place called With Friends.
Yeah.
So we go once a month there, and we spend a couple hours with the children there, because most of the time they're going through a process. So we go over there. We take a big load of pizza, cooler full of drinks, and we eat and play and just have a good time and try to have a smile on their faces before we leave. It's a little harder to make your connections there because you've got a little bit of time, but you'd be surprised of when they realize that, hey, they're okay people, how quick they open up and you start having a good time. But even from that, I remember Cuz, has a wonderful story from it, and I'll probably never tell it right, but one of the children from that he had met at With Friends, he runs into at a grocery store to find out that he had a huge impact on him and never forgot him, and he went on to be a very productive adult and, give him a big hug and thanked him for it. So you just never know.
That's right. You often don't see it immediately, for sure.
And you just never know the impact that you have, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 years that you spend with somebody. You just don't know what that changes for them.
What about looking ahead? This question is for both of you, being the president and the vice president here of the local chapter. 5 to 10 years from now, what do you guys see in the future for the organization?
Well, I'd hope in 5 or 10 years that we don't need to be here no more.
Right.
But unfortunately, I see taking on more families. I see us doing what we do to take care of these people. Unfortunately, the numbers grow every day.
Yeah. Have you seen a bigger need through since COVID came along, or is it not? You haven't, in what you guys are doing, haven't seen any more contact, or
as far as the contact for us, the contact has been pretty steady. But
okay.
Like I said, the biggest majority of it, like I said, sometimes they're just looking for something that we can't necessarily provide.
Gotcha. Right.
And it's hard to. You can't necessarily financially support somebody's lawyer to. Fight for something, because we do get calls to where there's situations and you've got a grandparent, an uncle that's wanting to fight for this child, and that is just not something that most people can afford to pay a team of lawyers
for.
And we do get calls in that to where there is situations to where there is abuse. And we offer our services, but like I said, they're looking for a better way to fight for the child.
Right.
And we can't necessarily do that part of it. But I do see the calls going up. My wife was on jury duty during some of the COVID stuff, and the amount of cases coming through Cleveland County.
Yeah. Well, some of the other organizations we've spoken to on the podcast here, whether it's mental health organizations or just support, community support organizations. Yeah, a lot of places did see a dramatic increase in some of the requests for services, through that time. Danny, what about you? I mean, what do you see 5 to 10 years down the road, or maybe even sooner?
I agree with it'd be nice if it would go away. Unfortunately, I don't think it will. In 5 to 10 years, I would love to see, he had mentioned earlier, we started out through the biker community. It would be nice to see, we're starting to branch out into other communities.
Okay.
A lot of people were skeptical because of motorcycles.
Right.
And, but we get a few corporate donations.
Good.
Every year. So we're starting to branch out. People are starting to see, just because we ride a motorcycle, you might have a tattoo or two, or that stigmatism, or that
stereotype.
Standard,
yeah.
We're not that what they thought we would be.
You're not sons of anarchy.
Most people, you'd be surprised at people that would say, we didn't picture you guys doing this.
Right.
Well, somebody has to. So, being able to branch out into the community and reach out to other resources or partners to fight what we do would be huge, because I'm a believer in numbers. If you have more numbers, you can fight more.
Impact more people.
More people. So that would be
okay.
What I would envision in 5 to 10 years.
So you guys have shared, I'm going to ask this question anyway, because you guys have already shared so many reasons, but I like this question because this is a podcast, we're kind of focusing on Gaston County, we were specific about area around Gaston County as well. So maybe Danny, stick with you. Why would you say Gaston County is a better place because the Guardians of the Children is here?
I would hope to think that by being here, there's other resources that people can reach out to, but there's some things we do that others may not do. For an example, we've had calls before where a kid felt uncomfortable because a particular person was riding by their house, a form of intimidation. They call, we go there. And we give that kid comfort that he can go outside and play in his own front yard without someone riding down the road that shouldn't be there. You would be surprised until you get to dealing with the kids, how at ease they are around a group of people who ride motorcycles. So I think that's the advantage. There's a lot of people who close the doors at 5 o'clock, and there's no one to reach out to.
Gotcha.
Our phones are pretty much on all the time. We get calls, I wouldn't say a lot throughout the night, but there's Facebook messages, emails, web page. There's always somebody reaching out and contacting. Or we have children, or we have liaisons who we all have a family that we deal with.
Okay.
And they can reach out directly to us, and then we can reach out to the chapter or someone close by to try to give support to get to them. So I think at that personal level makes it better.
Sure. Todd, how would you answer that? Any differently, or did he cover that one pretty well?
No, he's pretty much on point with that. Because we are able to offer a little bit different style of resources.
Right.
And we have a moniker, when a child calls, we ride. Probably in my recent memory of a good example of that is we did take on a family, and it's been a couple years now, but we spent a lot of time over there getting calls and needing to come out. And one of the first calls that we got is where the child was nervous. We got a call about 12 or 1 o'clock the next day and told us that was the first full night's sleep that child's had since.
Oh, wow.
It sucks to go stay up 1, 2 o'clock in the morning knowing you got to work the next day. But when you get a call like that,
yeah,
man, you can do it time and time and time again.
Yeah, my experience in the organizations I'm involved with, I'm involved with several and have been the last 20 years or so here in the community. I often find that it feels like I get more out of it serving others than something that feels like the people I'm actually working with. So yeah. It's not that it can sound a little selfish, but yeah, I think it goes both ways there.
Yeah,
it's a servant's attitude.
Absolutely. So guys, obviously we're gonna swing back around and make sure our listeners know how to get in touch with you guys, how to get involved, donate, what maybe in events, anything you've got coming up. But is there any questions I haven't asked about the organization or anything you'd like to share before we move on to a couple short local questions?
No, but I will say this, and if you have a question of kind of anything about us or anything, probably the biggest example in Gaston County that we get people coming up going and recognizing us is, hey, y'all were in Bad Grandpa. And actually our organization was in
That's funny.
Bad Grandpa. So there actually is a little clip there in that movie. And it may not be the specific, representation.
Your chapter, but is it the...
It is Gaston County.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I remember that now. Some of that was filmed here, wasn't
yes.
it? Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So
that's something somebody could easily YouTube
yep.
and find that.
Bad Grandpa bar scene. They'll pull it right up.
I think that's the first reference we've had to a movie clip for people on the podcast. So that's terrific. So, like I said, we'll swing back and make sure our listeners know how to get in touch with you guys before we finish. But we do have a few questions that we go through every episode just because it's about Gaston County and because I can, for the most part. And this is really what all your other chapter members, your family, this is what everybody really wants to know about you guys, okay?
That's right.
Right? This is really what the listeners, or actually it's not true, but this is where we're going anyway. So, Danny, start with you. What's your favorite? Have a favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
That's me too.
Same. Chocolate.
Same?
Yeah.
Okay. Sundrop or Cheerwine?
Both.
Depends on the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite local restaurant? Byram's? No, I'm kidding.
No, they don't compare to this one. It's right across from the old city hall.
Yeah, Webb Custom Kitchen?
Webb's Custom Kitchen.
Webb's good. Yeah, Webb is a popular answer.
I'm a little different. Azteca. That's my favorite restaurant.
Yeah, Aztec is good. Yeah, absolutely. So favorite outdoor activity to do here in Gaston County?
I played softball for 25 years, so I'll say softball.
I don't know about you.
Fishing.
Mm-hmm. Got a specific spot you go?
We'll get in the Norman and Wiley both.
Okay. So I think, Danny, you mentioned you had one in college earlier, but so this is the question I asked just because I can. And there's only one correct answer. UNC Duke or NC State?
Went to one but pulled for another one. I'm a Heels fan.
I'm not a sports fan.
So then I'll take that as an NC State is the answer.
You mark it how you like it.
Danny, what is something very few people know about you?
Very few people know about me. I don't know. I'm pretty much an open book. Normally, I talk a little more than I do today. Can't think of anything right offhand. If they ask, I'll tell them.
Don't lie. You don't want to tell everybody about that pink riding jacket you love to ride around in.
I promise I don't
watching.
have one of them.
All right, so Todd, we'll stick with you on that one.
Man, I don't know that there's much that people really don't know about me. I'm kind of like him, when you just don't have.
Actually,
a
you know
whole
what?
lot
That's
of
good.
secrets,
That's actually that's a good thing. I mean, that means the people you're hanging around with, and you're an open book, and you don't have any issues with that. I don't know if you guys are readers, but I like to ask questions. Any book or anything you follow online that you can share with our listeners that might be worth something for them?
There's a few people I follow online. Can't remember their names right now, but the last book I've read, or probably the last book I've cracked open to read, would be the Bible.
Very good. Try to do that weekly myself. Todd, do you have one?
As far as reading goes, no. I can't remember the last time I had enough time to sit down and try to read anything. But probably the last book that I read, God, I'd hate to even think of how long ago it was either Where the Red Fern Grows or Way Back in Ozarks. One of the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is another question that I like, so talking about our local community in general. So maybe stick with you on this first, Todd. Besides Guardians of the Children, why do you think Gaston in our area is such a great place?
It's North Carolina. How could it not be? You're right here in the middle. You're a few hours from the mountains. You're a few hours from the beach. I mean,
it is unique for that reason.
It is unique, and for the most part, the people in this area of North Carolina are good, just good, wholesome people. Yeah. I've traveled this country, been in a lot of different places, and there's just nothing like home.
I agree.
Like anywhere else, there's bad people, but for the most part, man, this area is just good old down home people.
Danny, how would you answer that question?
For me, it's a melting pot. Like you said, there's every category of person pretty much in this area.
Yeah.
Close to the mountain, close to the coast. You're about middle ways from north to south. You're next to a big city. So you have about any and everything you want to do within a few minutes or a few hours. So growing up here, of course, has grown since we've grown up, but it's still a laid-back community for the most part.
Yeah, I think earlier you said you're 52. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're the same age. So I've experienced that same thing here, growing up here myself. So Dan, let's stick with you for this last question, and I do say this every episode. This is my favorite question. So knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Knowing what I know now. The best advice that I could give a 20-year-old me, let's see, junior in college, knowing that your daughter's on the way. I was a little naive then, but had work ethic. If I would give what I know now to the 20-year-old, as hard as I thought I worked then to build something, I would work harder.
Okay.
It's funner to play with money in your pocket than it is with no money in your pocket.
That's interesting, but you're correct. Todd, how would you answer that?
I would tell my 20-year-old self to forgive.
Oh, wow.
Because at that time,
Your experience is a lot different than others.
yeah, still hot-headed, haven't forgiven and let things go. So it was harder to move on with life, harder to grow. Messed up a lot of good opportunities that I had as a young man because I was, just holding on to things and hot-headed. Things happen to you in life that you can't control. But until you can forgive them and not for them, for yourself to be able to move forward, it's hard to grow as an individual. Unfortunately, it took me longer to realize that.
Right.
But once I did, life definitely has blossomed for me. But my 20-year-old self, every day, all day, forgive.
Well, I appreciate that one. That's good because I sure wasn't in that mindset when I was 20. It was all about me.
Yeah.
So again, I appreciate that. So as I mentioned earlier, again, the main point what we're trying to accomplish is bring awareness to your organization. So where can our listeners go to learn more, get involved? I guess spread the word. Just kind of share how what's the best way for our listeners to do that.
GOC. We have a Facebook page.
Okay, Facebook.
Unfortunately, I was running a little bit late this morning, so I didn't get everything written down. But we are on Facebook. We have a website, GOC Gastonia. If you Google Guardians of the Children Gastonia, North Carolina, our Facebook link will come up.
That's what I did yesterday, but do a little research beforehand. Everything came right up.
We were right there. I mean, and if you go to our website, if you're wanting to do any kind of donation or anything like that, we have a hot button on the page. If you're wanting to get involved, we have our meetings fourth Tuesday of every month at the Bearded Buffalo in Belmont, 7 o'clock upstairs. So if you want to come out and come to a meeting, check us out. By all means, y'all are all welcome. Don't 60 of you come at one time because we can't hold you. But we might have to change the meeting place. But
we only have 3 listeners, so you don't have to worry about that.
Well, good. All 3 comes. We got plenty of room.
We'd have the podcast there.
Yeah. But
actually, that's a good idea. We need to do some remote podcasting.
Outside of that, if you want to come to an event, we have just the remainder of the year coming up. We have our next Kappa ride is September 24th.
Okay.
Even if you don't ride, we are still working on details, so keep your eye out.
Sure.
But if you don't ride a motorcycle and you want to be involved at the end events, we have 50-50. We do door prizes. We do all kinds of different raffles. Yeah. So it's actually a good time even at the end. Food
at the end.
So, anybody can come get involved in that, as well as we have a car show coming up October 22nd, and that's going to be at Pizza Galley in Belmont.
Okay.
Bessemer City.
Bessemer City, excuse me. And then we also we get a lot of reach outs from families that are needing help.
Okay.
And of course, come Christmas time, that jumps way up. So we do a toy run every year. This is going on our 3rd year to try to help those people. So November 5th, we will be doing the toy run, and every ounce of that, all the toys and money raised, goes back into the community. Okay. So last year, we helped out 57 different kids with that. And then if there's any funds or any toys left over, that also turns right around and goes to the Gaston County Toy Run. So either way, it is coming to Gaston County. Children in Gaston County are getting from that. So that's another good one. Even if you don't ride, you don't do anything, show up, donate, and you're helping your community there.
Very good. Yeah. Well, any last words?
And we just appreciate the opportunity to get on here and talk about it.
Well, you're very welcome. I will tell you again, I've had a couple of people mention your organization to me, but until I'd researched, I didn't know a lot about it. But I'm going to tell you, this has been impressive, and I as somebody who's involved in a lot of things in the community, I appreciate the work you're doing, and it's good work and it's needed work,
Yes,
right?
sir. Unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
Sir.
So again, I can't thank you enough for all of that. And so something I do each week is I have a little quote of the week or my own book recommendation, and this one is a odd sounding title, but I think it kind of ties into what we're talking about today. There's an old classic, what I call classic personal development guy named Og Mandino. I've actually shared some of these quotes recently around GSM, and people are like, who is that guy? But he wrote a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World. So it sounds like something you should study if you're going to have a sales career, but it's actually a spirituality book. And one of the quotes in it that I think ties into what you guys are doing is, he said, "I will greet each day with love in my heart." So I think you can't go out and do what you guys are doing for these children without kind of approaching each day that way. So again, I can't thank you enough for the work that you guys are doing. So to our listeners, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. Please spread the word if you can about the podcast, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us on all our social media platforms. And apparently giving us a good rating helps the podcast get noticed. Thanks again to Todd and Danny for being our guests today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Amy Anderson from GSM Services and edited locally here by the Sumner Group. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.